long time. The work is not done, but I remain hopeful that we're going to get it done. And I want to thank my colleagues on both sides of the aisle for continuing their work towards a compromise. Now on the big lie. Today, the House will continue its public hearings on the Capitol attack of January 6. I urge all Americans to tune in and listen to the strong case our House colleagues are presenting. The dangers of the big lie transcend.
And he has convincingly won recent elections and is still on the Democrats' target list for next year. He plans to ask representatives to be involved in the child tax credit discussions. And when Democrats were considering extending the child tax credit expansion, he said the benefits should be better targeted to benefit low-income households for a longer period of time, and the current maximum credit applies to $400,000. Even representatives specifically praised the party proposal to permanently make the credit fully refundable, which would have meant that the families would owe little or nothing in federal amount income taxes could still claim the full amount. Republicans have said they're not interested in the revival of Democrats' signature expansion. Still, there were hints at a finances, taxation, and IRS oversight committee hearing last week of potential interest in working across the aisle on the child credit. Even some subcommittee chairmen actually agreed on this, and economic growth has benefited the wealthy while keeping middle class behind and lowering the income thresholds for the poverty. Now, the senators are holding a series of roundtable discussions for lawmakers to work on the child credit and ways to alleviate the poverty. And so far, this Congressional Budget Office has estimated that making the current law and current child tax credit permanent will cost $600 billion plus through the fiscal year 2033. While enlarging it back to the 2021 policy, it can cost up to $100 billion a year just to get things done. One-time payments will be arriving for millions of Americans soon, and the administration has approved $39 billion in relief. State lawmakers are now approving legislation that would allow more low-income households to receive SNAP benefits. The SNAP program has undergone modifications this year, affecting 42 million citizens participating in the program. SNAP benefit amounts vary based on people's household size, monthly income, and other expenses. The plan faces an uphill battle. Efforts to pass laws capping the price of insulin for insured Americans or uninsured people or those with private insurance, and they failed in Democratic-controlled Congress last year. Another part of the law that the administration hopes will have ripple effects for Americans is the requirement for the pharmaceutical companies to pay a rebate to Medicare when they raise the cost of prescriptions faster than inflation. Now the EPA also has unveiled a pair of proposals to dramatically cut carbon emissions and spur the industry toward full electrification. The first of the proposed standards would target emissions from passenger cars, vans, and light trucks, while the second batch would apply to heavier duty vehicles, such as delivery trucks, dump trucks, and buses. The EPA estimates that if finalized, the rules will lead to the electrification of 2/3 of new sedans, as well as 50% of heavier trucks by 2032.
Well, everyone here at the Morgan Hill Senior Center welcomed the Social Security boost, but also point out they've been around long enough to keep it all in perspective.
How's everybody doing this morning?
The 85 seniors who show up almost daily here inside the city's Centennial Rec Center were dressed in pink today to boost awareness about breast cancer. The Senior Center is a place to connect and socialize, but also a place to cut costs. And for those on a fixed income, that's key, especially with the price of food skyrocketing.
We have a ton of news about the fourth stimulus check, Social Security benefits, SSI and SSDI. There's a ton of information on this video that you have to watch because there's a stimulus payment that you need to know. Exciting news! A few more states have announced brand new plans that will just provide extra stimulus aid to low income and households during this winter time. There are over 9 new batches of stimulus payments that are actually set to go out to everybody to the many Americans in need of stimulus payments. So, as inflation continues to impact the United States, well, many new proposals are finally beginning to be signed into law. Anyone living in these 6 states may be receiving some extra cash sometime next year. Many of these payments are part of programs that's by the SSA until October. There are several changes that will take effect in 2024. The most anticipated change is the cost of living adjustment, which is an annual increase intended to keep the pace with the rising cost of living. Due to high inflation, though, people are having questions about it. In 2023, beneficiaries reached the highest COLA in 41 years, but the COLA for 2024 is expected to be more modest. The nonpartisan senior advocacy group, the Senior Citizens League, estimated that the COLA for 2024 will be 3%. For the average hired worker, though, receiving $1,900 would mean an additional $55 per month next year. Unfortunately, though, the purchasing power of Social Security benefits have been declining regularly since the start of the century, and any increase actually won't even adequately address the estimated loss in purchasing power that is experienced by seniors since 2000. Another change for the upcoming year involves high-earning workers who will see an increase in payroll taxes due to a rise in the maximum taxable earnings cap. The payroll tax contributes about 90% of the program's revenue, and only about 6% of workers reach the maximum taxable earnings cap a year. Additionally, high earners collect Social Security benefits. They may experience a large monthly payout, as the maximum monthly benefit amount at a full retirement age is expected to rise in 2024. To qualify for the maximum Social Security benefit, well, you must meet 3 criteria. You must be the retirement age of full, work at least 35 years, and reach or surpass the maximum taxable earnings cap at all 35 years used in calculation.
I recognize the gentleman from New York, Mr. Jacobs, for 5 minutes.
Thank you very much, and thank you to all the panelists and Speaker Gingrich for being here today. This is a very critical issue for the future of our nation and our young people. I served for over 7 years on the Buffalo School Board, so kind of a lot of my tone here will be with that experience, but certainly it highlighted for me the significance of what you're talking about today. I can't recall the exact statistics, but I do remember our kindergartners and our pre-K kids coming in with a significant number of them already needing remedial help because of the fact that they had oral language deficiencies and the other basic building blocks that are required for them to be able to learn to read. And so this is a very important issue. Mr. Malik, I just wanted to ask...
The recent dip in New Jersey's revenue virtually ensured that the New Jersey payments will never be made. Others criticized the $500,000 income cap, suggesting that it directs aid toward the residents who don't even require assistance with property tax. The Texas state legislature also approved a law this year that will increase the homestead exemption, and voters will have to approve this in November because it will require a change to the Texas Constitution. It will lower the property tax bills for homeowners, and in the wake of the Supreme Court actually cutting down Biden's student loan forgiveness plan, groups are aiming to take at its efforts to deliver the debt cancellation to scores of Americans. This past Friday, the Institute and Mechanic Center for Public Policy filed a lawsuit against Joe Biden's plan to cancel federal student debt. The groups are asking the court to halt the program, which they argue violates the federal law because the administration didn't even produce it through the rulemaking process and offer the public the opportunity to weigh in. The groups argue that for Congress, well, it's going to create the first income-driven plan in the 90s, never give the department the authority to count non-payment as payments, and they say the same is true for the public service loan forgiveness, in which the public sector and non-profit workers can have the balance of their loans forgiven after 10 years of service. As part of the income-driven repayment plan, well, the department also gave people working toward policy service forgiveness credits for periods as long as their long-term forbearance.
Rhode Island, Jack Reed, Chairman of Armed Services, and I thank him, Senator Wicker, and so many others for their great work. Well, look, let's look at what's happened. The past few weeks in the Senate have shown the power of working in a bipartisan manner. NDAA is a prime example of how Congress can work together for the American people. We have a very divided country. We have a divided Congress, but nonetheless, we were able to come together and pass a bill overwhelmingly on one of the most important
Limitation date